I wanted to show you my angel decoration, and it's not just for Christmas. You can create it to hang in the house, to remember a loved one. I mean, obviously you can make it as a pendant, but I prefer it as a decoration. And you can make them with any colour beads. Mine are very plain, but I quite like them with crystals and pearls, but it's up to you. Now I'm using 0.8 of a millimeter wire, that's 20 gauge, and I'm starting off by creating a small circle at the very end of the wire with my round nose pliers, and then from there I'm going to curl the wire around that to create a spiral. So you just hold it in your flat nose pliers and keep pushing the wire around itself, keeping it nice and flat, and you work from the spool. So don't cut anything off at this stage because you're never sure how much wire you need. Now this spiral can be the width of the widest bead that you want to place within the sort of caged cone area. So just it'll basically the width of it will determine the largest or the widest part of the angel body. So I think I'll stop about there, and then you leave a tail. So leave a reasonably long tail, not as long as the wire you've already spiraled, because this time you'll start off again with a little circle, but instead of making a closed spiral, you want to keep a little bit of a gap. So this is an open spiral because we're trying to make a cone, not a bead cage. So it's going to have a flat top. So just keep that little gap as you're curling the wire around, and as you bring it in, these two spirals in towards each other, you can just work on each because you want them to sit one on top of the other and be completely flat. So you just sort of curl them in together, and you'll see there that there's the open spiral and the tight spiral together. Now we want to make a cone out of and separate all these the gaps within this spiral just to bring it out into a cone. So you just push your pliers in through and pull and just wiggle it out because you want to try and get a little bit of even gaps between that cone so it looks like a sort of curly whirly. So that's going to be the body. So leave it like that, put that aside, and the next thing we're going to do is create the wings. So I'm using 0.4 millimeter wire, and I'm just going to use a ruler to wrap around. You can use anything you want, but you want something flat. I find plastic is the best thing because if you do it on card, it's harder to pull off. It sort of digs into the card. So the end of a ruler is perfect. And obviously, you know, you wrap it around anything that is the right dimension, but my ruler is perfect. So I've wrapped it around. You can wrap it 10, 15 times. It depends how sort of thick you want to make the wings. So there's my wrapped up 0.4 wire, and I've got two ends. Now I'm going to pinch the center. So place your fingers at the center and sort of pinch it. You can use your pliers and take one of the ends and secure it around that center point to bring it all together and to make sure it's not going to fall apart. And that's going to be the center of the wing. So you've got the wings on each side. So we've got the wings, we've got the body, and now we need to cut a length of wire that's going to go through the body and also be long enough to make a wrapped loop or link at the top, which is going to be the halo. So I'm using, you can use a pen for a mandrel, but I've got my Bailmaker mandrel here. So just make a loop at the top and create a wrapped link. So you can see I'm wrapping the wire around and securing it just underneath that circular link. And now that's my top link. If you've got too much wire to wrap around, just take your wire snips and cut off any excess, and then just pinch down the end and make sure it's flat and not protruding in any way. So there we have it. That's the link at the top, which is actually going to be the halo for the angel. Now I'm going to give that a bit of a flattening and hammering to spread it out so that there's more sort of, the halo looks more like a halo, and there's more metal there. So if you stroke hammer it on your steel block, you'll find it spreads it, and it also work hardens it. So there's the halo. The next thing to do is you want to sort of straighten and also work harden this wire stem. So I'm holding it, I'm pulling and twisting, I'm pulling and twisting, and that's just sort of like work hardening the stem, making it straight. And this is the stem that's going to go through that curly whirly body bit of the angel. So have a look at your bead stash and choose one bead for the head of the angel. I've got this sort of pink shell bead that I'm going to use. And the next thing is to connect or secure the wings just under that head bead. So you've got these two wires protruding. You can use them both in any way you want. Just make sure that it's firmly fixed and it's not going to wobble off. So there's no, perfect way of doing this. As long as it feels like it's attached, that's the main thing. And because I've got two wires, I can leave one at the front and one at the back. So I finish off leaving one at the front, one at the back. I'm going to trim them down a little bit, because if you have leftover wire like this, you can create little spirals with them and flatten it down at the center of those wings. And again, it's just a way of having another little decorative detail on the angel. But if you don't have any wire left over, don't worry. It's all subjective, isn't it? So I'm just spiraling this very fine 0.4 wire and bringing it in towards the center, and then I will flatten it just under the head bead on one side. So that's one piece of wire, and then do the same on the other side, so that if the angel spins around, it's got a little bit of detail on both sides. And it just also hides the wrapping and the binding that you've made, and you don't see any messy detail. So that's the wings. So the next thing is the body. So we're going to post that wire through the tapered thin end of your cone and push it all the way through, and then feed or thread the beads on. So you're going to have to start with smaller beads first because it's narrow, and then you can increase the size of the beads as you drop them into the coned cage, spiral cage. So if you want to use very brightly coloured beads, why not? I've just got these to hand. I think that's enough actually. I'm going to finish with that one. So now pull it back and then feed the end of the wire through the center piece of the open spiral, and then push that down to form the base. So that's now the base of the angel. So with the extending wire left over, just roll it around on the same place of your round nose pliers to create a double link. I'm just going to cut off a little bit of excess wire there. So I've just got a double link. I mean, if you don't have enough to do a double link, a single link is absolutely fine, but it's just going to hold all those beads in place within the cage, and also give you a little link that you can suspend a little drop from. I mean, you might not want to suspend anything from the angel. To finish off the wings, what you're going to do is just spread out those very fine wires, looped wires for the wings. And when you spread them out, it looks like a sort of fluttering angel wing. Of course, you can make wings just out of the 0.8, but this is just something slightly different, and it's quite quick to do. And you know, your kids could be doing it with you. You could make a load of them for your tree, perhaps. So just spend a bit of time on that. I'm not going to spend time. I'm just going to show you the basics. And then you can decide what to hang from the angel. It could be a lovely little crystal. But I've got an idea that you might be interested in. You could also get a circle of aluminium. This is a stamping circle, and you can buy these online or from bead shops. And I'm going to stamp a name on it, or initial on it, or a word on it, but I thought I'd make this angel for my mum. So if you tape it onto your steel block, and if you do have stamping tools already, this is just a nice little added sort of thing you can do for your decorations. You can personalize them. So I'm going to start off with the U in the middle, and I start with the middle, and then I put the M on each side to create the word mum. So it's just one tap, and that has stamped the name. And I also want to give that a bit of texture because it's an angel, and I want a bit of, you know, glittery or bling, or I don't know what you want to call it. A bit more sparkle, I suppose. So I'm just putting my dapping head, as I've got my whammer out, and just giving it a little bit of texture, bit of dapping texture, sort of dimples onto the metal around the stamped letters, which means the light will pick it up and reflect, and it just gives it more of a finish. But obviously it's all subjective. And then to get the letters to stand out, if you get a marker, a permanent marker, cover that, the letters over with the permanent marker, the marker will sort of go into the recesses of the lettering. And then once that's dry, you just give it a little brush off. I'm doing this too quickly, so it's not going to be dry, but imagine it was. And then it will blacken the recess of the letters or the design stamp that you've used. And then you'll need a jump ring to connect it onto the base loop. I'm going to have to turn my base loop round so that it hangs at the right angle in front of the angel. So now I'm just going to close my jump ring, and that's it. But as I say, you can hang a little heart, charm, you could hang a crystal, you can hang a birthstone, anything you want, because you can personalize these a little bit more. So have fun making these little angels for all the year round, as well as for Christmas. Many thanks for watching.